one final question. This is going to be a question that is asked to everyone that appears on this podcast. If you could take an NPC out for the day, or on a date, however you want to do this for an activity.
Oh,
who
not
would
like
it be?
execute them.
No. Who would it be, and what would you do?
Oh man, dude, this is a question of all time. I can't believe you just dropped this on me out of nowhere.
Welcome back to Side Quests and Save Points, where the main quest is still on hold and the side quests keep on piling up. If you've made it to part 3, first of all, you're a legend. Second, this is where things get a bit spicier. We've talked about Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, and our love for the genre, but now it's time to zoom out a bit. In this part of the conversation, we're going to be diving into the state of RPGs and MMOs, as well as sharing our thoughts on DLCs, monetization trends, and games we're excited for, or worried about, on the horizon. So grab a drink, get comfortable, let's get into it. Welcome to your save point, let's dive into this side quest.
One thing I like about the Yakuza games, and even the new ones where there is some form of DLC content, it's all cosmetic. There's nothing like it'll give you maybe some powerful items, but they don't overly affect your playthrough.
That's true. Like when you get like there's like basically like if you play Final Fantasy 16, right? They eventually gave us cosmetic outfits for Clive. It didn't change anything. Just made you look cool.
Yep.
And the same thing in other MMOs too, where like, here's how you get to look, and it's nice. Like Dragon Quests have cool outfits.
So just leading on, how do you think live service models, monetization trends, in-game shops, DLCs, expansions, how do you think that's impacted, well, not only RPGs and MMOs, but gaming as a whole? Because back when I first started playing games, Tekken 3 is a prime example. To get the other characters, you had to complete the game with certain characters. And to get their second costumes, you had to complete the game with them. It was all unlocked within
even Super
game.
Smash Brothers, right? Like, you beat the game with this character, now you can fight that character and unlock them and stuff.
I understand it's a business. They are out to make money.
New Smash does make you pay for the new characters.
Mm-hmm. But I get it. They're a business. They're out to make money. Without money, they wouldn't exist.
You're asking how I feel about games nowadays being, for lack of a better term, they're incomplete, with the intended completion coming at a later date.
Yeah, same as, like, slightly different, but early access games on Steam, they're often, they use early access to fund development sometimes.
I mean, like Path of Exile 2, right now, like it's early access and you can buy it to get access to it, and then sure, they're going to use that to have development costs, but they even admitted they were like, there was so much we were missing that we need to they stopped working on the new season of Path of Exile 1 because they couldn't afford to send the developers back to that game.
But I feel that if I enjoy a game, I would much rather pay for an MMO. I would much rather pay a monthly subscription than have a cash shop where someone can buy XP boosts and level skips and really good items and throw off the balance of the game. And there's a new game, MMO, that's come out that I was really enjoying for a time called Quinfall.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
I have not.
So,
but I do know that Diablo Immortal, is that the one? Was like super pay to win.
So, Quinfall is been compared to PAX DA, however you want to say it. It is claiming, and if they manage to complete this game, it will be the biggest map in an MMO. It is very, very new worldy in terms of combat and content. The developers have had a very, very rough launch to the point where
New World's launch was
Quinfall was worse.
Oh my god.
They got review bombed within 24 hours because of how bad the game was launched. There was server issues. They weren't ready to launch. They should have known that from the playtests they did. They launched it without.
Do you think there's a pressure, though, from the player base to have it be released because there's an expectation set?
Yes and no. But the players also expect a certain standard when the game is released, and the problem that they had was the communication was lacking. They released it where there was any MMO that releases now especially that there is no excuse not to do it with the history of MMOs and how they work. There wasn't a server queue. It was just free for all.
Like Tibia used to be, even
like
they learned.
Tibia used to be.
That's so bad, man.
But
I mean, I could understand if maybe that particular system was causing critical bugs and they hadn't worked it out yet. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
You asked if MMOs hold their charm, right? Like, this is part of the problem.
Yes.
Both from the developer's standpoint and from our standpoint. Because there's a certain amount of hype, right? Where, like, if you take too long to do something, people will find something else to be excited for instead.
100%.
But if you release it too early, you're going to kill yourself anyways, right? Because you're going to shoot dead project.
I was very excited about this game because everything it promises that it's going to deliver will make a very good game. Yeah. There is open world building, which is partly why it needs a big map, because you can just build in the open world if you like set
is
radius.
Is the entire world supposed to be available to everybody, or is there like some games have like a free model and then you pay to access other areas?
No. So the world is free. What is pay for? So how they've very smart actually, and I like the way they've done it. So instead of servers, there are servers, but on each server there are channels. There's channel at the moment. There's channel 1 and channel 4. Channel 2 and 3 will be coming at some point in the near future, I'm guessing.
1 and 4.
Yeah. So channel 1 gives you slightly less XP boosts. It's just I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but there's 10% XP boost to certain things, and you can pick like whether it's gathering, mining, harvesting, etc., and then 10% boost to standard XP gains from PvE and PvP content. Sure. Channel 4 is a PvP channel where all the XP is increased, and the XP gains from PvP and PvE content are like 25% boosts, and you can log out and switch between channels as is, and you are essentially toggling open world PvP on and off. And you log out and you log back in exactly where you are. So if you log out in PvP and you don't really think about it, you log into the PvP channel, you can be dead before you load in.
That's so funny.
But they've got some really interesting mechanics, like there's caravan and caravan thief mechanics where you deliver parcels across the map, ship and pirate ship, merchant ship, pirate ship. But
it's like multiple types of biomes that you're interacting with.
And there's like 4-5 different biomes. But the problem is those buffs that I've just told you about, and it is explained whilst you're because you can pick one of 3, and it is explained. I missed it because I wasn't reading properly. And hold my hands up, that's my fault. I didn't read.
Most people don't.
You cannot swap those buffs unless you pay.
How they get you. Very small print.
Inventory locked behind payment. Increased inventory locked behind payment.
That is the same in Path of Exile.
Yep.
But like every 2 weeks, they send sales on the stash tabs for your inventory.
Yep. But then massive XP boosts locked behind payment to a point where it could disrupt game balance.
I mean, it's the concept of having like a whale in a gacha game, right? Like if that was open world 100%. PvP, then the person who's the whale is going to beat you.
Yep. I think it's because I've grown up around games that didn't have that.
Yeah,
every in-game shop that I have played through at time of release, with the exception of Elder Scrolls Online, has been purely cosmetic.
See, so my first experience was Tibia, and the game was free to play. But if you paid for premium, just like they had membership in RuneScape, you got access to additional areas. And you could enhance your job to make, like, you get a promotion. And you would get more experience because you had access to other creatures. The items aren't unique. Like, other people can still buy stuff on the market from you and still use it all. But, like, you could get to other areas. I liked that system because you were never forced to, like, pay for the game if you didn't want to. And you got a full experience from the free areas that they did have. But, like, there were going to be things that you'd miss out on, sure. I don't like games where, like, I guess I wouldn't like having to buy, and I did this in Path of Exile, but I didn't like it. We have to buy more inventory. If there's going to be an inventory management system that exists in the game, it should not exist purely so that you will buy more.
Exactly.
Right? It should
It
either
should
be
be
everybody's.
it should be a convenience thing, not a if I don't buy more, I'm going to suffer.
And that's so on Path of Exile, I was like, I would like to save these items for later. And it was like, if I do not buy more stash tabs, I have to get rid of these items because I don't have any more space. And that was kind of bad. I didn't like that at all. But like something in like Monster Hunter, right? Like imagine if you could pay an extra $30 and have an infinite inventory in the hunt and just carry every item on you.
Even if they locked weapons, some certain weapons behind a paywall. The bad thing is that would probably still be accepted.
Or like you played Iceborne?
No, I played base game.
I mean to say Worlds, just like as a whole. Sometimes I'll say it to represent the whole game, but like when you played later on, you could start with the Guardian set, which was like catch-up gear to help you get ahead. What if that was locked behind DLC that you had to pay for? That'd be horrible, right? Yeah. But like something Monster Hunter does, and this is where like, so Monster Hunter technically doesn't release as a complete game, right? There's title updates, but every single title update is free, and it always has been. They even had rotating events on the PlayStation 2 Monster Hunter. It wasn't events you could download because like, they were just starting out, but it was like every other weekend there'd be a different event, but anybody could access it, and it wasn't paid for the internet either. So it was great, and still to this day, every quest is accessible by everybody, with the exception, there was a time-limited item you could get from an Assassin's Creed collaboration. There was a mantle for that made you actually run faster. So like, I think it's game-breaking because you actively are moving faster. Yeah. But I think it was on like on the Assassin's Creed side of things that probably limited the amount of time they were allowed to have it in the game. But like everything else has been free. Everything they put out has been free. Even like the collab with 14, right? That's permanent. You can go fight Behemoth if you want. It's fine.
Yep.
And now, like, if you go play, it's permanent. Like, it's now it's a complete game, right? If you were to go play it right now.
Yes. I'm so glad that wasn't time limited because it took me so long to get that Rathalos mount.
Yeah. And like, there's an expansion you have to buy, but you're okay with expansions? Or do you think they should not be paid either? Because sometimes non-MMOs have expansions.
Yes. When it comes to MMOs, I like what, and I don't know if they're all like this. I haven't played enough recently to know if this is true for all of them, but at least the big three, Final Fantasy, ESO, and World of Warcraft, if you buy the latest expansion, you get access to the previous ones.
Correct. And not just the previous one, but like the whole set.
Yes.
But I think
that is the right way to do it.
Bundles, right? I think you could buy sets of 3 or something.
Yeah. I think it was around
Legion, maybe?
No, because I played it briefly in Burning Crusade, not enough to say I played it.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing it with my wife. I didn't realize she played it. She didn't realize I was into MMOs, and we started playing. I joined her server, and we played from the Mists of Pandara pre-patching Cataclysm.
Yeah.
I
like that too. That's something WoW does really well, right? They give you like a precursor set.
Yeah. So I bought Mists of Pandara, and I got access to everything. So it was at least from that point.
Okay. I don't think it existed definitely not in Wrath of the Lich King. They were too big then.
It didn't in 11. It probably still doesn't in 11 because of how it works.
But there's maybe a bundle. I don't know. But yeah, like 14 now, you just buy it, you get it. I like that.
Not technically a feature, but leading on to that, what RPG and MMO features would you like to see more of in games? Like, I feel MMOs like to try and accommodate, especially with 14 now, it tries to accommodate everyone and every style of play. You've got the high-end... You've got the high-end raids for people that like the grind and the competition. You've got island sanctuaries. You've got chocobo breeding, chocobo racing, player housing, and then player housing
gathering. People like that too for the market.
Housing just leads into a whole nother kettle of fish with the RP.
Have you seen people do like housing jump puzzles?
Yeah, I didn't. I kind of got it when we went to Kugane. Because there's that vista that's at the top of the tower.
And you got to jump off just right.
And I didn't realize until maybe 2 expansions back that there are jumping puzzles in most major cities outside of the base game.
Yeah. So for Mordona and for Idyllshire, it happened as the patches were happening, because those cities were rubble at first, right?
Yeah.
They got built up, and as they got built up, there were different things you could like jump on. It's really cool. Yeah, there's jump puzzles all over the place, but there are player-made jump puzzles that actually have logic to them. Like if you're in a certain spot and you sit, like different panels will move and change color, and like it is actually so intricate. It's like what is it called in Minecraft? Redstone?
Yeah.
It's like that, but in 14, and it works, and it's crazy.
What the player community in 14 come up with by themselves is ridiculous. Like, I want to know, like, when it comes to like decorating the housing, how on earth did the first player find out, well, if I do this, and this, that's going to cause that to fault? Like, it's the same principle. Yeah, same principle of like the first
people
ever
get out of
person.
bounds right at the beginning. There were holes in the map all over the place, but how did you know? You're just jumping at it from all angles. For me, I fell out of the map once. I was just running around on my mount, just talking to people, and I just fell through the map, and I was like,
yeah. So I feel like games try to cater to so much, they don't always do what they intend to do well because they're trying to do so much. What sort of features do you think should be more prominent in MMO and RPGs? Like, a lot of them have gone away from turn-based combat. They're going to action combat.
It's hard because I think what 14's doing, it does well. I think their combat is very well designed and engaging. And I think the content for casuals exists as well. But it's when they release it that's a problem. 7.2 is coming out, right? We are getting the exploratory areas, the giant scaled combat. We're getting like a new allied society. We're getting a new raid tier. Like we're getting new story. Why do they have to release like 5 huge pieces of content, like our relics, all at once? Why couldn't we get like intermittent patches? Like we get a 0.15 and a 0.18 and stuff, but they're largely like not anything really important, right? So why does it all have to come out at 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4?
Yeah.
It's been like what? We got a chaotic fight at Christmas, and we got an ultimate for Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. So for people who don't do the 24-player alliance, which, to be fair, that chaotic is pretty difficult content to do if you're not in a Discord with people, right? If you don't have resources. Like, I don't know of too many 24-player alliances that are not all, they're just completely random, right? I don't think they're probably completing it. It's too chaotic.
That's the name.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that, like, there's no reason why they can't trickle things like maybe something every month. Would you have a problem with that? Because the raid doesn't require you to do the MSQ.
No, so I would probably find that kept me more engaged with the game. It'd give me more things to do because I don't raid anymore. I don't have time. It doesn't. If I had a group of players to play with, I probably would. But I don't have the time to invest in it. I do other things. I've got other commitments that I need to, like this one. He's a big commitment.
So cute.
I don't have the time to raid. If they released content like that instead of how they do it now, I'd probably find myself more engaged with the game and playing more often. I mean, my sub hasn't lapsed. They're still getting their money. Because I'm not going to ever not play the game. I'll just keep
there's also like choice paralysis if you did have the time, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do first? Are you going to do this and now you're going to get spoiled on that from somebody on Twitter? Or maybe you're going to do this and miss out on the other piece of content?
I haven't actually. I played through Dawn Trail's initial release, completed the story, stopped playing. Came back for Echoes of Vanadiel, completed that, and I haven't touched it since.
I unlocked the dungeon for Expert. I did not do the story after that.
I haven't, if I am playing a game, I like to be heavily invested in that game. So I will often leave it many patches so I have a story to get invested in, because that for me there is not enough story released with each patch for me to play that game and enjoy it.
I mean, some of the patches like 6 quests and you're done, right?
Exactly.
I don't know, man. It's hard. I am thankful right now because we have a lot of games coming out. I'm thankful that there's not a lot to do in my MMOs, so that I could step away and then I could play like Monster Hunter Wilds, because we have I'll have that game coming out at the end of the month, which is in a week. And then we get our patch for 14. We now know the date, right? We don't know the date, but we know it because they just announced the Moogle tomes. So we know that the patch is going to be the last week of March. And that means the raid tier will come out April 1st. What a day.
Or will it? Yoshi P.
Or will it? But the problem with that is, will I be done with Monster Hunter in 3 weeks' time?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Where have my games been the last 6 months? I have spent like 4 months doing nothing. Because like when you're raiding in 14, the gearing is both too slow and too fast, right?
Yeah, it's
once you've cleared the raid tier, you're done. If you don't want to parse, you're done. You've completed the fight. You have what it takes to beat it again.
Yeah.
If you're going to get the gear for Ultimate, sure. But then it's making you play and do this crap content, for lack of a better term, right? Like people are doing, like people aren't really even running experts anymore that I know. They just wait for a hunt train and they run the hunt train. And that's whatever. But like new season of PvP hits. Now I'm doing PvP for my ranks. Now I'm getting tomestones while doing that too. That's a cool way to do it. So like keep me engaged in different ways and I'll want to play. But if you're like, okay, here's a new dungeon. This is how you get your tomes. You're going to be doing experts. I'm like, okay, I don't really want to just do the same dungeon over. Or you just release one. You release one and you're making me do the past 3 as well. Like that's a problem. No, I don't know. Dungeons aren't the most fun content in Final Fantasy, but like, WoW, where you're going through a dungeon and it's like there's bosses in between and it's like a whole world in there, right? But like their dungeons are basically like, it's their story, but in another way. And I like that, right? Because like, oh man, dude, I've got memories on both sides of it. I don't know. You can't make everybody happy. And I think I'm in a position now mentally where I'm satisfied with having less to do. I'm okay with not being in love with everything that 14 has to offer. I'm cool with doing the world race and it taking 1 day. We were done before dinner. That's cool for me because you know the casual players are still going to be at it for like months. And that's fine because they're not going to be impacted, right? But the people racing, imagine if you can't race because it's a 3-day race and you can only get 2 days off from work. And now you just have to leave your team because you cannot play. That's awful. But I know that's an unpopular opinion. I mean, like people want harder, longer content, but I'm cool with being done faster. And if I'm done faster, I could watch my friends, right? Like that's what I did. This raid tier, I finished, and then I 9th man did callouts for my friends in voice with them for their teams, and they were able to prog really fast. And that was really magical. Very cool.
Speaking of watching people and watching others, moves on nicely to content creation.
Oh, I've never done that.
When did you start? What was the trigger?
Yeah,
I know we spoke about this briefly.
1003. Yeah, you remember when the dinosaurs were around, right? That's when I was making content. They actually got the world of Ark from my autobiography.
Sounds about right. My knees would tell you about the same thing.
So my first stream was actually a game that I don't know if you've ever heard of. It was Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
Nope.
It is a puzzle game, as you can guess, with Street Fighter. And I was hanging out in this retro gaming dude's streams, and he had a lot of like emulator arcade, like just open lobbies. And I started shoutcasting them, and people enjoyed it, and they thought it was funny. So then I started streaming it, and people thought it was funny there too. And then I was playing 14 raids, and I would stream just to like be able to watch my footage, see how I can improve. People wanted to just like hang out and be able to watch it. They're like, I'm not going to raid. Let me see. And then over time, I started building a community. People started coming by, like 5 or 10 people, which is really magical. When you're like, I don't know what to do. I want to be able to do this more. It's crazy that there are even 2 people who want to come by, right?
Yeah.
And back then, like becoming a partner was difficult. Becoming an affiliate was difficult. I remember Spofi and I, we both used this external sub program called GameWisp, where people could sub through that and they would get emotes and stuff. And you could also like promise incentives and stuff. So like I would send out wristbands and like necklaces and stuff to people after X amount of months. And we had bags and stuff. It was really cool actually. And then eventually COVID happened and my local gaming store, we went out of business that I was running because COVID closed everything down, but the landlord didn't stop collecting rent. And that was it. We're done. So I started streaming more. People started coming by more. And honestly, I got my start because I was I was teaching raids. And nowadays there's the Ulti project and there's people always helping people clear. But back then, not a lot of people were willing to teach others and wanted to help them. Instead, they wanted like efficient parties to clear. So that was really neat because I got to be like one of the pioneers to like actually help people and put their foot forward. And one of the things that people said like they really liked about my content is that I was good at the game and willing to teach others to be good too, instead of getting mad at them for not being good. And, you know, that struck a chord with me because it's what I wanted. I'm like, and I would tell people, like, my answer was almost always the same. Why would I get mad at you for learning or for not doing well if I want to clear content and I have helped gatekeep people out from doing content? My pool of players to play with is smaller. It is not in my interest
100%.
to keep you bad, right? Like, it is in my interest to make you good, because even though I have a team right now, that team might be recruiting later and we might need somebody, you might be that person, right? Or in random parties, right? It's just, I wish more people would think about it like that, that it is in our best interest to just have better players. And telling somebody they're bad or telling somebody how to play is not teaching, right? It's way different. So that's kind of how I got started. And then I became partnered when the year COVID hit. And from there, I just started building my channel and I was trying all sorts of stuff. I was doing different impressions and things. We changed one of our characters for Kronk. People had a really good time with that. So I started doing voices. I'd always kind of done voices, but like, at certain points, people were like, do this. And I'm like, I'm not a monkey. I'm not just like at your beck and whim. But then I was like, you know what? And then I get embarrassed. I get a little flustered. I'm like, I can't do it. And then like in the shower thoughts, I'd be like, oh, maybe I can. And then I started doing stuff and just trying and experimenting and doing solo challenges and like various types of content, like all tanks and stuff. And like people really liked that. And I was writing guides for different tank jobs and fights, and people really liked that. And just over time, it became really cool. And then I started having people reach out to like try their game or work with them. And that was like so humbling to have something like that happen. Like, I will never forget, I got to be on the official Square Enix channel streaming for
100%.
there's no patience for anything. People like want everything now and then the next thing and then the next thing. And like, there's so much React content and drama and it's all, I hate it so much, man. But back then it was all super cozy vibes and people were just like getting to know each other, like actually getting to know each other. I miss that.
So you touched on working with Square Enix then. Who are the other companies that you've worked with, worked for? How does that come about? What opportunities have you been given and what opportunities would you like?
So I think my favorite ways that I've worked with people either by reaching out an email or I've actually taken a shot and reached out to others. One of my favorite methods, because it is the most like authentic and genuine, is just when I go to conventions, I like to go up to people working at the booths of things that I'm interested in. And I just like talking to them. Not about the games, not about opportunities. I just talk to them. How are you going? Like, what have you been enjoying? Do you get a break soon? What type of stuff do you do? Have you actually played these games? What do you like to do outside of gaming? And just get to know them as people. And then when I see them at subsequent conventions and stuff, like most of the time they remember me and they're like, oh yeah, that was a really nice conversation. How are you doing? How's your puppies? And just those moments are very beautiful because I'm not trying to like, grind. I'm not working the grind and trying to get opportunities. I'm just living my life the best way that I can. And if an opportunity presents itself, that's great. And if I want an opportunity, I will go out of my way and say, hey, if I wanted to work with this, how would I? But I never assume that it's going to come my way. I always want to get to know people first. And so that's honestly how I got to work with a number of people, is just getting to know people. Like I remember when I got invited to the media tour, right, for Endwalker, and the person who reached out to me was like, I actually watched I learned how to play. I was like, oh, what job do you play? Like, I actually learned how to play Gunbreaker from you. And I was like, snap. Yeah, it was so cool. It was awesome. And it was very humbling. And then it turned out we actually had raid friends together and stuff. It was so cool. But like, it's something that I'll never get over, I think. It's a very, very humbling experience, and I'll never not appreciate people who find my content enjoyable and want to work with me. And then I have some friends who I met who, we stayed friends after working together, and it was really cool. There was this one game, Soundfall, that came out, which is like a beat rhythm type kind of like action fighting game. And it's like an RPG too. I met some of the people who made the soundtracks and some of the people who worked on the game and stuff. They sponsored me to play the game, and I played it all in one sitting, and it was like 21 hours. And I did it because I enjoyed the game. I was sponsored to play it for 2 hours. I played the whole thing. And like some of the composers were coming by, and they were like, what did you think of this song? They're like, I worked on this. It was just really cool to get to talk to them live while playing their stuff. And it was just so cool. And then I ran into one of the guys at PAX East last year, and he was like, holy shit, you're the legend. You had the world first speed run of the game.
Technically,
like,
yeah.
God. Technically, yeah. And so we hung out, and it was really cool, and it was nice and lovely. And it's just, like those types of memories are things that I'm never going to forget. They're very lovely. So I guess in short, how I got to work with companies is I took a chance, right? Obviously, the channel being successful and having people come by and support me plays a huge part in being able to get opportunities. But largely, I think it's just treating people like people. Like, you will miss every shot you don't take, right? But don't treat it like it's only work. Like, hey, can I stream this game? Can I have a key? Right? Like, I've actually had feedback from people say before, like, when you write emails, like, you wouldn't believe the amount of emails that just reach out and say, can I have key? And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just, hi, this is me. Here's a little background. Here's the things I love. Like, I work with Bandai Namco. I work with Capcom, obviously, part of the Capcom Creators Program. So I've gotten to do like the Happy Hunting Helper Hours. And we got to do like when Sunbreak came out. With Bandai Namco, I actually have a Digimon Survive backpack, which is really cool. Digimon Survive is like kind of like a horror type game. It was really cool. And I remember when I was talking to the one of the community managers over there about the game, they were like, so do you like Digimon? And I immediately took a picture of like all my shirts and stuff that I have from them. Like, I was like, I saw the Digimon movie like 13 times in theaters, so I can get every card. It was really cool. And we just started gushing, and I'm like, that's really cool. You like .hack and stuff. And we're just having this back and forth dialogue. It was really cool. And then like I got to work with for like Elden Ring as well. I had broken my arm like right when it happened. So you can see the scarring, and I have a metal plate here. And it was immediately after I had broken my arm that I was supposed to have this sponsored content. So instead of it being like a demonstration of me being able to play the game well, it was a demonstration of like accessibility, because I was just in a cast on a pillow here. So what I did was I had it propped up, and I would just control like the joystick like this. And like my right hand controlled all of these controls, but my left could only do this. I had some rude people coming into chat at some point like, did you know you could also press L2 to swing your weapon instead of just swinging with your right? I don't know why you're not using the left. And I was like, ow, that's not going to happen right now. But it was really funny because I hadn't played a Dark Souls before. Not really.
Yep.
And people were like, I was like, what weapon should I try since I can't really do much? They're like, a shield. You should use 2 shields. That was not a correct piece of information that I was given. It was a very difficult time. I made it about 6 hours in before I had to play some other weapon, but we beat some bosses with it. It was funny. And just those types of
that game
so
gives
cool.
you that option to play with 2 shields.
Yeah, it's great. Like, Elden Ring was fantastic, but like, yeah, man, I don't know if I hadn't had those opportunities. Like, honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you how I get these opportunities. I just try to be myself and reach out and do the best I can. But like at the end of the day, I'm just really lucky and fortunate, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So what do you think is biggest challenge of being a content creator within the gaming space specifically? I mean, every content creator has the same challenges of discoverability and all that sort of stuff. But what do you feel is unique to gaming?
My biggest challenge, this is very unique to me, I think, is that for a few years, I don't do it quite as much right now. I mean, I am with Wilds coming out. I was streaming 18 to 20 hours a session.
Yep.
Every single day. To give you an idea, 2021 is what we can use. Yeah, 2021. I streamed effectively while I'm loading this. So my biggest hurdle is that I'm always on. So you will see all of my life, all of my happy moments, my sad moments, my mad moments, everything in between, because I was streaming so much. Okay, I have it right here. In 2021, I streamed for 3,235 hours.
Ow.
which is a very, very long time. That is an average of 9 hours per day. Granted, there were some days that I took off, but and then obviously
there are
sleeping.
less than 9,000 hours in a year, so that's over a third of a year, like 24/7 streaming, essentially.
Yeah, it was a lot, and so you would always see me, which was nice. Some people like, I got to go to bed watching your stream. I got to wake up watching your stream, and I think the biggest challenge for me is peer feedback and I have so many people who have had negative things to say about the channel who have actually never been in the channel. They just like don't like me for some reason and will talk about things and they're like, yeah, I've never watched it. It's like,
well, how do you know?
It's a little awkward, right? But like I cultivated a community because I was streaming in from multiple time zones, right? And I would have a lot of people who would watch my raid content from other countries that didn't speak English. So they would lurk and just watch the gameplay, right? And I like that because they're there to learn. Or like right now, and this was back then, but right now too, there's a lot of people when I'm streaming in the daytime. I like the night streams because I get to play with people. But during the day, most of my friends are working like they're 9 to 5, right? And there's a lot of people who are like, I just want to like put you on for like I have people work overnight shifts too. And they're like, I'm putting you on for background noise so that I'm not so bored. And I love that, right? I'm totally okay with people lurking. I like when people come in and chat because it drives the conversation a little bit, right? But when people just want to hang out too, I appreciate everybody that comes by. So for me, a big hurdle is people will see people lurking and then they'll like talk crap about it being like a failed stream because people are lurking. I remember I had a couple of people reach out to me personally who were like, I'm not going to come by anymore because I feel bullied by people saying that, like lurkers don't matter. And I'm like, dude, that sucks. Like, so I think the biggest challenge for me is like, I just don't like when people kind of like put their nose where it doesn't belong, if that makes sense. But as a content creator, like it's different than being like an actor. And granted, content creators aren't anything like celebrities. I mean, if you're Jesse Cox, you're both, right? But like
podcast
an actor in a movie or a show, you are basically not likely to meet, right? Unless you go out of your way to go to somewhere where they're going to be. You're probably not likely to interact with them on a personal basis. But content creation is different. You go in and you chat, and obviously they're going to see the chat, and you're encouraged to engage with it, and you'd want to, right? Unless people are like purposely trolling, you can ignore them. But like, it's a different situation because you are actively always open and on and reactive. So like, that takes a toll on your mental. It takes a big toll on your mental. And then people like will make fun of you for it or like judge you for it. But like, imagine if you watching this at home always watched for everything you said and did, always. And then when you say something upsetting, somebody clips it. And then if you delete the clip, because there's a number of reasons you wouldn't want it in perpetuity. First off, you don't exactly want the bad parts of your life kept in perpetuity. That doesn't mean that you're erasing it. It just means that you don't want it brought up all the time. Second off, when you're in other channels nowadays and people shout you out, there's a lot of people out there who will have a random clip of yours play. And why would you want to disrupt their stream by having something really awkward play? That'd be weird, right?
Yep.
That's stupid. And then third off, why are you obsessed with that? But there are people out there who have folders they save on their computer of like, anytime I've lost my cool. And then they call me the weird one. I'm like, dude, that's the unhinged behavior. Like, you're keeping Google Drives. It's a little weird, right? But like, this is different than, like you said, everybody has their own challenges that they all face. But like, for me, this is something unique to me, is like, I've had to deal with, for lack of a better term, like bullying in these regards. Like a lot of people in close circles who will spread this information anywhere they can. And like, there will be people who will like DM people out of nowhere and be like, I can't believe you're watching this person. Here's what you should avoid them for. And it's awkward because these are things from like 5 years ago.
Yep.
As like, ideally people learn and grow and move on, and I'm going to lose my cool. I'm a human. I'm still growing. And sometimes people will come in and purposely push buttons, right? Like, sometimes you just get upset. It doesn't forgive it. And obviously I can get better.
It's human nature. If you're accused of something, the first thing you're going to do is act defensive.
Yeah, but perception is everything. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
If things are out of context, it doesn't matter because the perception's already there. So for content creation specifically, your reputation really matters, right? And your conveyance really matters. So you need to watch what you say. But when you're always on, and I'm streaming like 18 hours at a time, my tolerance levels may not be as high as I would like them to be. So when I meet with a situation that's challenging for me, I'm probably less likely to handle it with tact, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's been my biggest
100%.
challenge. And most of the time, I enjoy what I'm doing, right? So like people also think that I have like this fake happiness about me. But when I'm playing Monster Hunter and I'm playing Final Fantasy and I'm having all these situations, I'm in my happy place, right? So it shouldn't be atypical for me. Like if you're hanging out with your puppies, you should be expected to enjoy their company if they're not causing trouble, right? And that should be fine. That should be fine.
Should be.
So it's those situations where like, of course I'm going to be happy. I'm hanging with my friends. I'm living my best life. But like sometimes people just won't accept that as a genuine response, and tough cookies for them. Because people will treat content creation like it's a reality TV show,
but,
right?
Yeah, well, like you said, when you are obviously broadcasting yourself to the world, you have to be careful what you say. You have to be careful what you do. In this generation, people are not only more easily offended, they're offended on behalf of others for things
right?
Like anything you say can be misconstrued and used against you.
But I've had situations where people that I'm talking to are completely cool, and then other people get mad for them. And then the person's like, it's not a problem. They're like, yes, it is. And I can't believe that you're not upset. And it's like,
yeah. So the best thing that I don't know if you've seen these, there's a guy on YouTube that goes around and dresses up in stereotypical.
I have.
What?
There was the person who wore like the authentic, like Mexican garb, right? And then like people got really upset with him, and he's like, why? And then he went over to like to the other Mexican territory area, right? And he's like, yeah, what do you think about it? He's like, it's cool. And the guy's like, it's all right. It's cool.
He's done it he's done it with Chinese, like traditional Chinese garb, traditional Japanese garb.
Basically trying to show that people are offended to be as a personality trait, right? Basically.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah. But what, for people that haven't dealt with this, who are getting into content creation or are lucky enough already have said career in content creation that haven't had to deal with this, what advice would you give to them?
There is no right answer to this question.
That is the problem.
If you stay silent when somebody's driving a narrative, you have lost, because they get to say whatever they want and people will accept it as truth because it's going to be their first impression of the situation. And if you look things up, like Google searches and stuff, that's the information that they'll see. And so you've lost in that regard, right? By not engaging. If you do engage, people have already decided that you're the bad guy, or that what you've done is so unforgivable that they will spin whatever you say and take it out of context. And this has happened with me too, right? Where they're like, oh, Rin sounds so uncomfortable the way he's talking. I'm like, yes, because I am uncomfortable. You put me in an uncomfortable situation. So of course I'm going to sound like I'm stammering and like I'm uncomfortable, right? So you can't win there either. If you try to defend yourself, people will think you're being combative and telling that you just need to stop. Or if you send an apology because you genuinely feel bad, people won't accept that either. And they'll say it's a PR response no matter how you word it. Although, like if you word it well, they'll say it's written by AI. If you don't write it well, they'll say that you didn't try. It's just, you've lost no matter what happens, because you cannot control the way that people feel, nor should you. All I can do is provide my truth. But at the end of the day, if something happens to you and people forgive you, and it happens again, and people forgive you and it happens again, now people may not forgive you. And it doesn't matter if what you did was right or wrong. Like people spreading rumors will add up, if that makes sense. Because social media, people don't believe, like people will believe things without validating them. So if you hear something like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Then you hear it again, they go, oh, it's repeat behavior. You're like, dude, I never did it in the first place.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. You've already lost. So my advice is, unfortunately, you're either going to be in a position where you're too big to fail and you'll be all right, or you're too small for anyone to care, in which you're all right, or you're right in the middle area of growth, in which case you're probably fucked. That's part of my language, but that's kind of like your situation is pretty much it. And the most you can do is try to move on.
Content creators are held in a public light, which unfortunately does come with drawbacks. But what would you say?
Treated like a figure, not a person. Like that's another point too. Like there's the parasocial aspect of it, where people say like, viewers get parasocial, but it goes the other way too, right? Where if you try to act like a person, people will just treat you like a figure, like a streamer, right? And that's kind of shitty too.
So that's enough of the drawbacks. What are the sort of the standout parts of? I know you've talked about this building community and stuff, but what are the benefits of becoming a public figure? Do you think there are any?
A public
is it
figure
just
or a self-sustaining streamer? Like, which are you asking?
both?
Because I think there are people out there who are public figures who don't necessarily do it for a living, right? But have
Yeah.
a good media presence.
Yes.
But they just do it to do it. So I'll touch on that, and then I'll touch on the other side where you do it for a living, right? Because there's benefits on both sides. Benefits to being a community figure is obviously you get to speak your mind and people get to see it. So when you're passionate about something and you want to share it and you see other people getting excited, it makes you happy. It makes me happy. I love that. I love getting to share my experiences because growing up, it was all about like cooperative games with people. I loved that. Even if we were playing something like Mega Man, we were taking turns, and that's beautiful. And also as a public figure, you have more eyes on your interests. So like if you try to make friends in your small town where you live or even a big city or anything, maybe you don't meet anybody who has your interests. But online, maybe you run into your wife playing an MMO that they didn't know that you played, and
Yep.
now you're on the same server. You know, I met my partner at an anime convention. If I hadn't gone there, if I didn't have a recognizable outfit, maybe we wouldn't have talked. So like, as a community figure, I've gotten to make some of my best friends in the entire world that way because they wanted to hang out with me, and then I went by and hung out with them, and then we get to talking, and it's just a really beautiful experience. It's another reason why I stopped streaming so much is because I wanted to make time to hang out off stream, because just because I'm on all the time and I'm okay with that doesn't mean that other people have to be on, you know? And then the side of like doing it for a living has its benefits for me specifically. I get to see my puppies whenever I want. I get to see my family whenever they're available. But like, I have so many things I get to do around the house now because I'm home that if I had, you know, a 9-to-5 or a job at like a brick and mortar place, I would have to worry about their scheduling. Like I also, if I want to do something like go on vacation or, you know, just do the raid tier or a new game, I could just do that, right? Or if I just wanted to like go for a walk, I don't have to be like, hey, can I take a break from my boss? I'm just like, okay, I just get to go do this. So that's probably my favorite benefit, is that you have control over your life and what you're doing with it.
That is a rather big benefit. Yes. I suppose the only other people that have that benefit are, again, people that are lucky enough to be able to...
maybe.
Yeah, you are the boss. So other than, just before we start wrapping up, one, is there anything else that you wish to bring up and talk about? Two, other than the patch content coming up, Final Fantasy 14 and Monster Hunter Wilds, and now, as we've mentioned, the Yakuza games, are there any other games you are excited for?
Oh my God. How can I be? You just gave me like
year?
600 hours of Yakuza.
I did. I did.
Oh, dude, that's so tough. So basically, Monster Hunter Wild is going to eat up like my whole March, right? And then the raid tier is going to come out for 14. And that's going to probably eat up a month of like re-clears and optimizing and learning the other jobs, as well as I'm probably still going to play Wilds. Then it's convention season. So like PAX East is going to hit. And that's local in my backyard. It's in Boston. So I'm going to do that and then probably spend some time with friends that are going to be traveling. So that'll take up that amount of time. Then we're going to have a title update for Wild. So now I still can't play other games. Then I would like to finish Pirate Yakuza around that time. After that.
So are you going to play Pirate Yakuza first, or are you going to go back and play the other ones?
Well, it's tough because it's the same character, right? It's tough. But Pirate Yakuza is more likely to be spoiled in social media than the other games are, because they've already been out for so long that people probably aren't talking about them.
Yes, that is true. You've just got the caveat of the game may be spoiled, but I feel that if you play through, you will appreciate the history of that character so much more, because Goro Majima is such a polarizing character within the games.
Was he always a protagonist?
He flits between the two sometimes. Like
Kiryu's always protagonist.
He's like a Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's like an anti-hero almost.
Okay. He's doing his thing, and if it happens to align, then it happens to align.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair and reasonable.
He doesn't give a fuck. If he wants to do something, he will do it.
I am looking to so they announced a brand new Digimon game.
Yes.
I think it's supposed to come out this year. If it doesn't, then I'm looking forward to it next year.
Is this the next Digimon World?
It's basically like the next Cyber Sleuth.
Cyber Sleuth, that's the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not played that one. I'm just stuck on
Very good. Very enjoyable.
Digimon World Next Order.
That's fair.
That's so good.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Rift of the Necrodancer just recently came out. It's a rhythm game. I enjoy it, but it's not like something that I'll probably play a whole lot of because unless they keep releasing music. Yeah. But what I'm playing right now of it is enjoyable. I'm also really looking forward to the new Onimusha. That looks like it's going to be really good.
So
but I think that's next year.
Yeah, we spoke briefly about Elden Ring. Are you looking forward to the standalone co-op game?
I've already seen some of it. I need to see more of the matchmaking aspect first because the network tests didn't really have it available.
How do you feel about a primarily game that's known for being a solo player game? I mean, it had its multiplayer elements, but how do you feel about it going like completely co-op?
It depends on the map. So right now, it seemingly seems like the map is the same every time, which means that it would just effectively become a speedrun with some sort of roguelite RNG a little bit. But if the map actually generated differently and let you choose, so you like drop in kind of like in Fortnite, but you don't choose where. It is a set spot every single time. But if they actually had different locations to drop, they've already said they're going to have different biomes, but that could just mean that it's the lava map and you start in the same spot every time, right? But if it's different every time, it has a ton of potential. They said it can be beaten solo. So there will be people who take on that challenge.
Yes.
It's probably going to come down to a lot of luck with the items you get. Like, I think you're probably going to have to get the rare pieces to actually be able to solo it. But I liked Elden Ring. I liked playing with other people. I did not like that you can only play with other people on bosses. I know there's like a mod to play like seamless co-op, but like I want that to just be like the way you can play.
Part of the game.
Yeah. Like you could sort of do that in Code Vein. If you ever played Code Vein, it was similar.
Haven't. I've heard of it. It's just not a game I've got around to playing.
Yeah, it's like anime Dark Souls basically.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's a game I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to playing it because it is a little different than regular Elden Ring, but I think if I did play it with friends who already were planning to play it, I'd have a good time. But by myself, I'm probably not going to get it for just me. I think that's where I am with that. Other games I'm not really too focused on because of the way the patch cycles are going to work with Final Fantasy and then with Monster Hunter. I think most of my other time is going to be spent doing things with my family and outside.
Fair enough. Yeah, so before we wrap up, is there anything else that you wish to say, talk about?
Yeah, what games are you looking forward to?
What games am I looking forward to? Obviously Monster Hunter. This will be my first time playing through it. Because I never completed World.
You going to play Insect Glaive?
Are
you going to play
Insect Glaive? I will be going probably Insect Glaive, and I tend to go for, when I play games like this, I tend to go for quick weapons, so probably Dual Blades will be the other one.
Okay, that's a good choice.
I have just downloaded Kingdom Come Deliverance to play through before I start Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
I have heard that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is, so one of my roommates picked up the game, and I was like, how is it? And he was like, it sure is a game. That's it.
Yep, I am obviously looking forward to Yakuza in Hawaii, and not a new game, but I have managed to bag Star Wars Outlaws on sale.
I did not mention that I was looking forward to it because I already have it and I've started it, but I have not finished it yet.
I am playing that at the moment. I'm about 3 hours in, and I am enjoying it. I am also a sucker for survival build games. So I've been playing a bunch of Soul Mask recently. There is a new game coming out called Atomfall that is set in England as if one of the nuclear disasters was much worse than it was. That looks quite fun. Other than that, because I am a fan of Pillars of Eternity, all things RPG tabletop-esque,
sure.
I will be playing Avowed. I'll see how that goes. And obviously, Pokemon Legends is supposed to be coming out this year.
Nah, forget about that. I think Pokemon's one of those games that you're not necessarily excited to play it on the year it's released, just you're always excited to play it when it's coming out, right?
Yeah.
Pokemon's just a guarantee.
The remake of, I'm not sure if it's, I haven't heard too much about it. I'm not sure if it's a remake or whether it's a new game, but the new Fable game. I
have not heard about a new Fable.
I've only recently had an Xbox. This Xbox X that I have is my first Xbox. So Fable, for the most part of my life, has been not a game I've been able to play. So I've downloaded the Fable Anniversary 1 and 2 and all that sort of stuff. And I'm enjoying them so far. So I'm looking forward to the new one. So but a lot of my time is going to be taken up with RPGs that, I tend to play games I can't complete, which is infuriating.
That's fair. I tend to play games until I'm almost done with them and then stop.
But
because once it's done, it's over.
I'm not talking about games that I physically can't complete, just games that don't have an ending as such.
Monster Hunter.
Like Monster Hunter, I like my games like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, Rune Factory, all that sort of stuff, and they can just go on forever. I am a big fan of...
I put a lot of time into Valheim, which technically there's bosses you beat.
Love Valheim. I'm a big fan of the My Time At series, so My Time at Portia, My Time at Sandrock.
My Time at Sandrock is so good.
They've announced the new one. The graphics look amazing.
So I got sponsored to play My Time at Sandrock. Then I went to PAX East that year, and I was at the booth just checking out like the stuff, and they were like, "Oh, do you have any questions about the game?" And I'm like, "No, I've actually played it. It's really cool." And then the guy saw my necklace. And he's like, "Are you Rin?" And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "I love Final Fantasy." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. You'd think we'd talk about My Time at Sandrock, but no, instead we started talking about Final Fantasy."
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the new one of that. I know it's a way off. And there is actually a new game coming out soon called Lost.
I don't know if it's this year or not, but Okami sequel?
I have not played the Okami games.
No.
But yeah, there's a new survival build coming out called Lost Isle as well. Okay. It looks really, really good.
There's also... Okay, when does this... I think Silk Song got a release date. Is it this year?
I do not know. Unfortunately, that's not within my wheelhouse.
If Silk Song comes out this year, I'm getting it. But that's the sequel to Hollow Knight. Be anticipated. But yeah, I mean, I guess any last party words is thank you, obviously, for having me on. It's really cool. I appreciate it. Very lovely.
Pleasure, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come on.
Absolutely. And if you guys haven't played Monster Hunter, please go play Monster Hunter. It's really good.
Well, so one final question about Monster Hunter then. What game would you recommend people start with? Do you think they should start with World since it's the most accessible, or do you think they should go back and play the older games? And obviously a lot of people these days have. It's why I'm very appreciative of remakes now, because it allows people that didn't play those games to play them in a setting where they are more comfortable. Like anyone going back to play 7 now Final Fantasy 7 would probably write it off.
Yeah. Like if you wanted to play old world Monster Hunter, you would play Generations Ultimate available on the Switch, but it is not a game that I think will leave a good first impression of Monster Hunter. It's one of those ones that you learn the systems, then you appreciate it later. If you want something accessible, World is really good, right? It's not expensive. It's really accessible. But if you want it to be with the hype and everybody else, dude, Wilds is going to be such a good experience. Just play Wilds. Rise is okay, but not as received as well as other games. I liked it, but other people claim... Like, World to Wilds would be the best natural progression.
Well,
one more thing. If you like turn-based RPGs like Pokemon and stuff, play Monster Hunter Stories 2. It is not a traditional Monster Hunter. It is a turn-based RPG with a narrative story with cute graphics like modern-day Pokemon.
Oh, very nice. I might have to give that a look myself. Well, if you would like to let everyone know what platforms you're on, where they can find you and all that sort of stuff, give yourself a little bit of an outro and a blurb and let everyone know what you're all about.
You could find me here in this video that we just watched.
If they haven't already picked that up from this 3-hour-long conversation.
You can find me at Rin Karigani over on Twitch, or on X, or on Blue Sky, on YouTube. You can just reach out on Discord if you ever have any questions as well. I like to play a lot of Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, and a couple of variety things here and there, depending on if the mood strikes us. And best piece of advice I can give you guys is just enjoy games. If you wanna try, and if you're bad, that's fine. Because eventually you'll go from being very bad to just bad to okay to good, right? It's fine.
And one final question. This is going to be a question that is asked to everyone that appears on this podcast. If you could take an NPC out for the day, or on a date, however you want to do this for an activity.
Oh, not like execute them.
No. Who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, man, dude, this is a question of all time. I can't believe you just dropped this on me out of nowhere. I
And
would take
just to caveat, this activity can be in the game world they're from or a real life activity.
It can.
Yes.
Okay, I would want to take a Lagiacrus and just go riding through the waves. It's my favorite monster in all of Monster Hunter. It's so cool. That's absolutely what I would do.
Nice.
A sea Leviathan.
Right. That is awesome. I'm sure those answers are going to vary greatly in times to come. So I'm interested to see how that question is going to progress.
Sure. I can't wait to see either.
Just to wrap up this episode now, our next guest is actually going to be, and I apologize for butchering this name in advance, Guillaume Boucher-Vidal. He is the founder of 9. They are the studio responsible for Outward, so we'll be having a chat about that. Outward 2, which is currently in development, the history of 9 Studio, as it is slightly different to most studios. I will give you a peek into that, as well as a look behind the curtain of the game development process, how it works. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow Rin on Twitch, as well as all the other places. All the links will be in the description. You definitely won't regret it. He's a fantastic, welcoming streamer, so please go and support him. If you'd like to keep this conversation going, please join the Tavern Discord. We're always talking about RPGs, MMOs, and gaming in general. Don't forget to follow the podcast on your favorite platform. Leave a review. It really, really does help us out, especially since this is the first episode of Side Quests and Save Points. So until next time, happy hunting, happy raiding, and we'll see you on the next side quest.
Bye.